Hello tailoring talkers, John here again. In this video I'm following up from my long build I made of the Lego Game Boy. If you watched that, congratulations, well done. It's a 90-minute video, so I'm always impressed when people stick it out. However, this video is going to be very much me reviewing the Lego Game Boy and giving you my views, the pros and cons, and whether you should buy it. So what is the Lego Game Boy? Well, it's a Lego model built in a partnership with Nintendo of the Lego Game Boy, the 1989 games console. It's got 421 pieces with a very interesting instruction manual. You can look at that in my previous video. And it retails in the UK at £55 and in America about $60, which I think is a really good price. We'll come to that later on. And it is a kit mainly for adults, I would say. We'll talk about why it's not really a design for children later on. And it really does build on the nostalgia of the games console. People who buy this are going to buy it because they used to have a console, have a fondness for it. So let's talk about the build experience. Now, obviously, you can look at my last video. I really enjoy building this. And a lot of Lego fans will buy the sets mainly for the build. The models that they build afterwards, they're a nice thing to have on their shelves or to play with, but it is the build experience. And experienced Lego builders will always comment on that more than anything else and how they enjoyed it. In terms of the design of the device, well, it is a fantastic looking device. If you look at it in comparison with the original device, they're almost a one-for-one likeness. There are a few limitations of the Lego blocks in terms of build, but I think Lego have done a really good job of matching the look and the feel, even down to the weight of the device. And that's one thing you won't be disappointed with. If you look at the buttons on the front of the device, the red, well, the pink, burgundy pink A and B buttons, they've been designed with a rubber band inside the actual model that allows you to press them in and out. So they do feel pretty much like the original. The D-pad on the Lego Game Boy console, is amazing. And again, they've used a combination of inverted studs and a soft piece in the center to allow it to actually tip and feel like you're playing around with the D-pad. And I was also really impressed with the volume and the contrast buttons, which you can find on the side of the console. Again, real attention to detail. They've used a rotating cog inside the device. And they actually work, they feel like the buttons on the games console themselves. Looking at the screens, so there's 3 lenticular slip slides that go into the device, and they show the gameplay or a shot from the 2 games that come with the device, Super Mario Land and The Legend of Zelda, Link's Awakening actually, not Link's Past. And they're lenticular, so they do change as you tip them, and you can slide them into the back of the device, as you can see here. And they are, again, light reflective. So there's no backlight for this device, much like the original. So it looks better in direct light, just like the Game Boy did. And I really like the way this little rod on an angle inside the back of the Game Boy. It's called a dingle, according to the Lego constructors and designers who made this Game Boy. That lets you slip in different views, including my favourite actually, which is the Nintendo loading screen, which is the Nintendo word dropping down. So that's really good. Also with it comes 2 cartridges that you build separately, Super Mario Land and The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. And when I first built these, I actually built them wrong. So I built them symmetrically, but you actually got to push the top part to one side to allow the notch for the switch to hold the cartridge in place, which is really good attention to detail. And even the switch on the top of the device feels like the switch in terms of its kind of resistance to push. And apparently the designers worked especially long on that part of the design to make it feel like the real switch. So I was really impressed with that. So yeah, you even got the vents, and there's a mixture of stickers and real world items. You'll notice the USB connection on the side is not actually a hole, it's a sticker. And the back of the console shows the vents, but it actually slides off to allow you to put the cartridge, the screens in. That's really clever. In terms of size and scale compared to the original device, it's almost a one-for-one like this. It's slightly slimmer when you hold it, and you'll notice that the edges are slightly less rounded. Again, that's down to the limitations of the device. However, you know, Lego purists are big fans on just using the original Lego pieces to build this. There are a couple of bespoke pieces for the Game Boy, and if you look at my video, my build video, there's some very, 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 very clever little twists and turns to how it fits together perfectly. I'm really impressed with how that was designed. I would say if you're buying this as a child, you might be disappointed. This is not a working Game Boy, although there has already been a mod for this that lets you play with the working guts of a Game Boy inside the Lego shell. But if you're a child buying this, be aware that it's a great build. It's quite a challenging build for children, I think. It's geared more towards adults and nostalgia. Also, if a child buys this expecting to have lights and sounds and a game playing in it, they're going to be disappointed. So I'd be very wary of that if you're buying this for a child. So let's talk pros and cons. The definite pro for this is the fact the device feels and looks like the original. At times I've reached for the wrong device when I was playing with my original Game Boy. And when I was trying to put this on the stand earlier on, I put the wrong device on the stand. It wouldn't work. I couldn't understand why, and that's because it was the original Game Boy, not the Lego one. The stands are great. I love the fact it comes with a stand for display for both the Lego Game Boy itself and the cartridges and the screens. I think they've tried to match the colour and design as much as they can. There's, you know, again, limitations with the materials and with the quality of the Lego bricks. However, it's one of the most accurate representations of the real device in a Lego set. I think the cost is really good. I think £55 in the UK, $60 in the States is a really good price for essentially a Lego set that's generally quite an exclusive looking design. I think a lot of Lego sets can be a little bit expensive at times, especially the larger ones. So this is a really good one to play around with. I haven't built my own Lego sets for a long time, so this kind of brought me back into the world of building, which I loved. On the con side, as I said before, this is not a toy. It doesn't have any lights and sounds. You can't play it as such. It is a display device more than anything else. It's something that sits behind me, or it actually sits on my bedside table, so I can look at it every night. It's great. So don't buy that for it to be played with. Buy the original device, which you can get about at the same price, £55, £60 on eBay. So you can have both. So my final verdict. I loved building the Lego Game Boy. I really love the attention to detail with the design, the look of it. I love the little fun twists they have with it, even down to putting the original date of the Game Boy when it was released as the serial number on the back of the toy. If you're thinking about buying it for a child, you might want to pause and just bear that in mind. It's quite a long and hard build for them, and it's not a toy that you can play with, but overall it's a great price, great value, and lots of fun. As always, like and subscribe to all our videos that you watch, and keep an eye out for the next one. Thank you for watching.